What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the AFCON special. I'm your host, Shegun. And guys, we are going into the next game preview of Nigeria, which is Nigeria versus Tunisia. So, guys, a lot of talking points, a lot of interesting discussions ahead in terms of this game, how we preview this game. So I think there were two matches that I had to go and see again in order to give an accurate, preview of this game. And I think first one was our game against Tanzania. I had to go and see that game again. And secondly, I had to see the game against Tunisia versus Uganda. And then to understand certain dynamics in these two games. I think, so first and foremost, I think the Nigeria versus Tanzania game, what we obviously saw in that game was the fact that there were a lot of positional rotation. Our wingers, as I said, were talking. Chukwueze was in, Lookman was in front of the box 18. We had a lot of positional rotations in the first half. Even in the second half, there were a lot of tweaks in the second half with different profiles like Moses Simon, with Badashiru on the other side. So we had a lot of different rotational stops, and I felt those rotational stops helped us in the first half against Tanzania. We caused a lot of problems with Tanzania. Even though I also said that we were not clinical enough. Sometimes after we got into the right positions, we did not maximize our position in those kind of places. Sometimes we were too early to release the ball, right, to play it long, where we could have actually pushed the ball in front of the box 18 and actually caused more damage, which is something I believe we still have to improve upon. But we saw a lot of things in that first half against Tanzania that really look nice. Obviously, the highlight of that game against Tanzania was the spectacular performance of Iwobi in that game. Amazing performance. So we saw a lot of dynamics in that game. But the second half, obviously, as we've analyzed in the review we did, is the fact that the substitutions, how early they were, which we understand because of fatigue. These guys are coming from their club side. It took the sail off us. We lost our dynamism in that game. And, Tanzania also, obviously, also after the halftime, they went ahead to do tactical tweaks to make them improve themselves a little bit more better because they were shocked in the first half, and how that the game became shaky, in the second half, and it led to a 2-1 win. So obviously the next game, that's Tunisia versus Uganda. Saw the game, amazing game. A lot of things that I learned from Tunisia are the fact that Tunisia is a team that wants to play in a certain way. They want to tap the ball. They want to move the ball. As you can say, like an European side, and how that there are deficiencies to how they want to do it, or how they carry out that activity. Their strengths in corner kicks, their strengths, in certain moments of the game, in the wings and everything. So there are a lot of things that also we saw in that Tunisia versus Uganda game. So now let's do a preview of what we, as usual, as you know how we do it, we look at what we would be having as a threat from Tunisia and what we can use to hurt Tunisia. So first and foremost, what Tunisia would offer us as a threat. First one, clear and visible enough, is the fact that Tunisia would want to play the way they want to play, and they want to play dominating football, passing it around and trying to dominate. And when we know that that's the way they want to approach the game, because that's the way we saw that the profiles of their players are, and the way they approach that Uganda's game. So when you say that that's the way they want to play, the question you have to ask yourself as a Nigerian manager, as a Nigerian head coach, even as a Nigerian team, is how do we want to counter this decision, right? Are we also going to come out to want to also dominate? Because we also, when we see under the manager that we have, Eric Chill, we also want to dominate. But when you look at the fact that you're playing against a team that also wants to dominate the ball, and you can also argue it's a team that they believe, because of the kind of profile of players they have, they believe they are better suited to that kind of football than us. So what is your plan to counter that? And for me, I think in this game, we have to first and foremost be very strong in the center of our midfield. We have to be very, very strong in the center of the midfield, because when you look at the Uganda game, that's Tunisia versus Uganda, you see that in as much as they were passing, Tunisia was trying to dominate by passing. Especially what I saw from that game, they are not as good as they appear, right? They are not as good as they appear. There are a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of dispossession of Tunisia when you apply the right pressure centrally. So we need to understand the fact that we need to strategize ourselves in such a way where we are definitely strong in the wings, but more strong in the center. And we must apply pressure at the right time to dispossess them. Now, when we dispossess them, our lineup, and that's one of the questions I want to ask about the formation, but we'll come to that. But our lineup has to be a lineup where we have fast, direct, and effective players on the transition. Because when you apply the right pressure to this Tunisia team centrally, they, as we have seen against Uganda, they will lose the ball. And when they lose the ball, you don't want people that will take extra touches. You just want people that will be, sharp, direct, effective to the goal, to reach the box 18 and get a chance. And I think if you're able to do that, we'll really get a very good result against them. Really. And we might win very, very effectively. So what am I saying is, in my opinion, I'm saying give them the ball, at least for the first half, but they'll try to do that, I think, from the beginning of the first half. Give them the ball, let them have their tapping, let them feel that they're in charge. They will make mistakes and capitalize on the mistakes. Sharp and effective. And second half, obviously, as we all know football, the dynamism will change, and then we can now try to dominate them. So the second part, I feel that they will also cause us threat is the fact that in as much as I said we should be strong, we have to make sure that the spaces in that central are not wide, because this is a team that, yes, you might say, yes, but if you give them the chance to pass, they would pass it around you and they might, create chances. So we want to make sure that our midfield setup is tight enough that also give them those spaces. And also, I think we have to also rethink, are we going to go with the formation we went against Tanzania? Because that formation is not a formation that gives that solidity that we would want, in midfield. Because when you look at it, we play with a pivot of it will be an Ndidi, right? But I feel we need to have an extra midfielder, especially for the first half of this game. But I think the manager obviously has that decision to make. But I think we need an extra defender to be a pivot to Ndidi. So whoever the manager decides to use that. But I think we need that extra, and then we need much more mobile players. We have Osimhen, we have Lookman. We want people that are direct, sharp and direct, people that can actually hit them, on the transition. So I think we have to look at our formation. Are we going to stick with the formation which is against Tanzania? So we have to look at that. So another thing also, I believe that Tunisia would offer us as a threat is definitely set pieces. And not just set pieces, anything that's to do with aerial balls in our box, right? We need to be very, very, because I saw the routines that they had and also the kind of players that they have. I think they are quite comfortable, on corners. And we have to be, I believe we're also comfortable in defending corners, but we have to be very, very focused and concentrated for 90 plus minutes, right? We should not lose concentration. We have to follow every man. And I believe if we do that, it will really, 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 really make sense. It will really make sense. Now, another thing also is the fact that, majorly, I think we should also try, because one of the things I believe they would want to use, is the fact that, the mobility of their midfield. I saw that against Uganda. The fact that, the likes of Hannibal Mejbri, the mobility on the left-hand side, and now that so we need to also stop those, because the way they put it is a single pivot. That's what I saw against Uganda. A single pivot, and then they had two midfielders, Mejbri and that guy. And the mobility of those guys in terms of passing and trying to dictate play, we shouldn't let those guys dictate play. That's why I think our midfield needs to be very. So for me, I think the major thing I'm going to focus on is the midfield. I really saw that they could be very dangerous when you allow them to tap, right? And also when they tap, it's not just centrally, as I said. Also, we have to be very, very strong on the wings, because they will try one or two. There, we need to be very, very careful there. And sometimes when you even look at their game, sometimes if the midfield does not even hold the ball to pass to the wings. Sometimes it's from the left back. They have this kind of passes they pass, to pass from the left back to the wingers. I think we have to stop those passes from the right back to the right winger. We have to stop those passes. It's a way of them progressing their play. So I think we need to just be strong, our wings centrally, and they will make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, we have to halt them. So now let's move to what we can do to halt them. I've said some in terms of being central and then eat sharp. But also I think their wings, I think we need to find a way where this match, I don't believe our wingers should drop in the way they did against Tanzania. I think we have to, our wingers need to stay high and also find a way where, if possible, our wingers need to stay high where the right back or the left back has a way of playing off them inside, right? So if you can stay high, then pass it to me, the right back or the left back of Nigeria can attack them. So I think if we double up on them on the wings, creates possibly 2v1 situations if possible, or 2v2 situations where we are smart enough, we can cause them damage on the wings. I saw some moves of Uganda against them, and I was like, we might actually capitalize on the wing play. We might actually capitalize on the wing play here. So I think that's one area we want to look at. Apart from the transition, look at that wing side. And sometimes it could be the right back that's creating the width and the winger benefits off in the space inside. So, but it's just that whoever is playing our wings have to be very effective. It's not about holding the ball too long. It's about quick decisions, movement, pacing, cause them issues. So also, I think another way we also try, I didn't necessarily see much of that, but I think obviously because of our qualities, depending on the setup we have, we might also try specific area balls behind the defensive line, right? Let's try those area balls behind the defensive line because, I know it's something that we can do. We have players that can do that, but I also try to look at areas where they might be vulnerable throughout the whole game against Uganda to see if Tunisia is actually vulnerable there. And I think it's something that we can also try in terms of at the right moment, not just aimless long balls, but at the right moment, trying to play it behind the defensive line, try to play it even to the last man on defense when the player is like behind him. And let's see, we'll try it and let's see if there are weaknesses there. And if there are weaknesses there, we'll capitalize on it. So guys, these are my opinions. Looking at this game, I think, but obviously, whatever chance we have, we need to be patient to enter the box 18. I didn't like the way we did it against Tanzania. I felt that some of our play that we had, we were too early enough to play it long, to try and quickly, play one long ball to somebody. I think sometimes we should have to push it near the box 18 and then do what we want to do. We need to arrive at the box 18 before we do what we need to do. And I think if we do that, it will really be amazing. It will really be amazing. So it's going to be a difficult game. Obviously, don't let them play what they want to play. But I think the major thing for me, major question will be, do we maintain our formation? The formation we use, that's a 4-4-2, basic 4-4-2 starting formation. And then we had our wingers create a lot of variation. A lot of variation in play. That's Chukwueze and Lookman. And then those who will be play the same role we played against Tanzania, looking at the fact that we need more defensive solidity. And also, we also need is what he did against Tanzania on the ball in terms of on the transition. We need that, but I feel that more so we need that defensive solidity, to be able to stop Tunisia from playing centrally and to hit them on the counter attack. So let me have your opinions on this game. What do you think is going to be the scoreline? For me, I want to go with a Nigeria 2 Tunisia 1. I know the last game I predicted 2-0 to Nigeria against Tanzania. But I think Tunisia would score. But I think I'll go for a 2-1 Nigeria win. So let me have your opinions on this game. As usual, drop to the comment section. And don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to share this video. Until we see you next time. Bye.